yeah, anything with group markers are going to be in here if you need them. This controls like the fire teams getting colored. They're different colors. It's always something interesting to look through. You know, it colors your ARs and AARs, and then believe up ARs, and then believe up here as colors. You know, since it's such a different squad fire team layout. You know, control yellow for the vehicle crew, blue for the medic and the rifleman, red for the grenadier and assistant grenadier, and white for everybody else. Let's see. Okay, the main thing that you're really gonna ever touch in here is gonna be this folder, the briefing. This is where you actually set up your briefing. So you know, briefing is really simple. You know, put your name here. Administration is things like, you know, how many vehicles do we have? Or is there anything special you need to be aware of? That kind of stuff. Mission is go here, kill this. Real simple. Situation is if you want to add some fluff. I added this uniform. Enemy forces is just, you know, if you want to provide any information about them, but I added this uniform part in here since people were talking about like they get into a mission, they have no idea what the enemies look like. So I've started adding in a short description of what the enemies are using or wearing, or what weapons they're using.
Yeah, that's been really helpful for me at least.
Agreed.
I know a while ago you guys were talking about you found a website that auto-generated briefings. Are we not using that anymore? Or?
You can if you want. It's an F3 website. I've got the link somewhere. I don't currently have it. It's probably on this website.
It's on the forums. It's not too hard to find.
Can you add like thumbnails or little pictures to the briefings at all, or no?
Yeah, but it adds. You gotta keep in mind any pictures you add to a mission is gonna add to its file size.
Sure, that makes sense.
And we try to keep the file size as little as possible because you know how y'all already know how long it takes us to load in as it is. So
okay.
Highlight would never get to play.
Maybe that's the plan.
Sorry, I'm looking to see if I can find this link real quick. You would think it would be on here.
Yeah, I remember seeing it. You posted it somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we have it on our forum, so not too hidden place.
Here it is. So yeah, I mean, if you want to use this, go ahead, but you know, we've cut out a lot of this stuff because it's not necessary to our mission styles. You know, commander's a tent. The commander's going to do whatever he wants. You know, movement plan, same. Like you know, same with fires. I mean, all this stuff you can put somewhere else, some other form or fashion. And honestly, like, if I don't have anything to put here, I just highlight all this and delete it. You know, it's just one less tab that people have to look at.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, so briefing's important. That's like one thing you definitely want to make sure that you filled out. And this, you may not get to this. I'm just going through these things right now, but I don't even touch briefing until I've made the mission. That way I know where the units are and kind of what because sometimes I don't necessarily know exactly how I want a mission to go until I've made it and I'm done with it. You know.
I got one last question about briefing. Where do you go to set the different briefings for the different factions so that different people have different information?
Okay, so this is this whole follows the old Arma 3 things, but this is NATO or Blue 4. This is CSAT or OT 4, civilian and independent. And if you wanted to, you know, change any of that, the factions that would see this, you know, that's in here. So like we've got RHS in here. In our framework, these are the factions that are included. There are other factions within like our mods, but with the way that gears handle now, we just use the base factions and add different gear to them through the gear script. So, yeah. So, okay. What else we got? We'll get into gear later. All right, so barring all that, let's step back. You just put the mission in here. You just named it. First thing I go in and do, fill out this top block right here. So this, I named this tutorial, and you put your author name. Just some quality of life things when when it's loading in, it makes it look pretty. The rest is control spectator and the gear. This is disabling. This is handling gear and disabling thermals on all things. This is very important. This is why I like having our default framework. When people fuck this up, then I don't have a debug console when I'm at in mission when I need to fix something. It really pisses me off if that's not available. Respawn settings. By default we're always group respawn, which means that this is what allows us to jip without having AI slotted. In the past, we used to do bird respawn, which means when you died, you were dead. You could still when you backed out, those slots may still exist, but since those slots weren't filled when the mission started, they don't just send you straight to spectator. This allows you to jip without, and the way to around that is you had to enable AI in those slots, which causes server performance things because you have AI on the server now. So this is kind of, we found this and it's worked pretty well so far. Parameters. This is also fairly important as far as weather goes. If you don't want to, these days we kind of suggest you set the weather through the briefing screen, through the editor, and because the default is leave it the fuck alone that Pabo did. That means that whatever you set in the briefing is what it's going to be. That way you can fine tune it to, like, if you want it to be a specific thing. Otherwise, if if it's like, say, a replayable TVT and you don't care what time of day it is, you may want to change the default from, say, let's see, time of day. You may want to change the default from -1 to like 1, which would put it whatever this option is. These strings are listed somewhere, but this is like the dawn and noon and all that stuff in here. That way, that me as an admin, I know that it can be played at any time. Otherwise, if it's a leave it the fuck alone, I'm gonna leave it alone unless somebody tells me, or it's stated in the description somewhere.
Okay.
Okay.
This stuff as well. Like if you're testing, you can turn on DAC debug here to make sure everything's spawning in and see where it's moving. This you might as well just always leave on auto detect because it's gonna. And the rest of this is just loading everything in our framework. So for new mission makers, not important. Okay. All right, and then the init, Pabo has cleaned this up considerably. This is just for testing purposes. I don't even worry about it. But this is, if you've ever heard the AI go like, enemies 12 o'clock left, something bullshit, annoying, when we're playing a fucking TVT, and it'll spot other players automatically 500 meters away and you've never even seen them, this disables that.
Is that an F3 command or is that default in Arma?
That's just an Arma thing.
Okay.
I think AGM does some further stuff to it to ensure that this stuff doesn't work, but this is here to make sure.
Helix had us play a non-framework mission yesterday, and our player AI was calling out shit, and it was so annoying.
Yeah. I was testing, I think, Seth's mission, and when I was talking about the naming of the mission and exporting them wrong, you know, the biggest problem is it only sends this mission file. It doesn't send any of this other stuff. So when I loaded in, it didn't have any of this stuff. So I could hear the AI talking, and I was fucking kidding me. But the rest of this is pretty self-explanatory. This is what turns on safe start at the beginning, radio setup, and that kind of thing. Okay, so that's I just kind of did a rough what's in our framework kind of thing.
Okay.
So, what's next? I guess let's touch on gear real quick. So if you don't want to fuck with gear, we're trying to make it so you don't have to. There's some basic loadouts, you know, already done for you if you just want to make a mission and you don't have to worry about it. But if you do want to mess with some things, you know, you open up this config loadouts HPP. And all the main things are defined at the top. So if you want to change the rifles, change it here. And I've got a video on the forums of me going really in depth on this. Depths. If you want to watch more about this, I'd go over that because it would take me 30 minutes at least just to go over gear. So I'm just gonna kind of point some of this out. But and by the way, if you don't have something like Notepad++ or this Sublime Text thing, you need it. Because I can do something like this and close all of Blue 4's gear, close all of Independence gear, Op4, RHS.
Okay.
And Pabo just added civilians as well, so I need to edit Op4's gear. I can just expand this out, go in here, change whatever. And again, I don't want to go too much in this since I already have a video on it. But the way this works is you have a default rifleman, and you define most of your stuff as far as uniforms, vests. There's multiple because these are all randomized. Your helmet, backpack. Backpack items is pretty standard. This is your medical gear. Weapons. So whatever we defined up here, East rifle, you just put that in weapons here, and that's going to be the rifle used. Magazines, East rifle mag. Grenades is a little bit harder to do through define, so it's easier to just write them out like this. Linked items are things like your map, your compass, watch. That stuff has to be linked. It can't just be added. So that's what's handled in there. And then your attachments. And so the way this works as we go down is right here, our first thing is our COs. You have, and their class name is O Officer F, and they're gonna, and remember the regular, so this officer is gonna start with the exact same gear the soldier has, and then we're gonna tweak it. So we override weapons by giving them an East grenade launcher rifle. We override their backpack with a task force radio long range backpack, which is also defined at the top. Magazines for their grenade launcher, a pistol, and this is where it gets a little bit different. So we want them to have the same linked items up here as these, but we want to give them some additional stuff. So you add a plus in front of the equals. That means they're gonna take this and then add to it. So we'll give them a GPS and binocular. Same thing with Soviet added these backpack items, this keys, and he messed up by not having this plus sign in here, and that's why people weren't having medical gear is defined right here. And since he didn't put a plus there to inherit off of this, it was overriding what was defined up here. And so we were only getting keys in our backpack and not the medical gear.
Okay.
And this goes, you know, you go down all of them, and most of them are going to inherit right off that soldier. You're not going to change the uniforms for the most part unless you want to, that kind of stuff. I mean, watch my video. I go into depth on all that. I'm not going to spend time on that right now.
Okay, cool.
Okay. All right. So I don't have the game launched. Okay, so remember I named this dot stratus. All right, and I don't use this editor, and the reason I don't use it is because we have a lot of multiplayer-based scripts, especially for DAC, that work best in a multiplayer environment, and sometimes in the single-player editor, it doesn't do those things right. There's like locality issues, and then if you're doing a big TVT with a lot of these AI, and I'll show you in a second, you can't disable the AI, so all the AI in the playable spots load. So you have all these AI constantly there. So anyway, to get to multiplayer editor, play multiplayer, new, okay, and you're basically hosting a LAN server. And let's go down to Stratus. And there is my adversarial tutorial right there in blue. Click that and hit edit. And on the load screen, my info showed up because I filled out that description. Okay, so everything is pre-placed. Blue 4, independent, OP4, RHS. This is a good thing because you can just delete what you don't want. So for this, we're not going to use any of independent. I'm going to highlight all of them and hit Shift Delete. Gone. We're not going to use RHS. Since we're doing a TVT, I'm just going to do Blue 4 and OP4. We're also not going to use civilians. This controls medical system stuff. This is our headless client stuff. And this controls DAC, which, is a TVT, honestly, don't need. So I can delete that. And this is a DAC trigger that I add for it by default to give people something to work off of. We won't need that either since it's a TVT. So go ahead and just move them on land. And if it's something so if I added a new Blue 4 guy, there's so much shit here, first of all, because of our mods. Rifleman. See how he doesn't have this around him? He doesn't have the playable thing around him? You have to go in here, hit playable, and you can't mass do that. We've already done that work for you. That's why it's better for you to just load this up and delete what you don't want. The other thing is, say I open up our squad leader here, they're already pre-named to work with group markers. The slot's already named to be Alpha Squad Leader, and things of that nature. The Medic, they've already got their name. Looks like Pavo did more stuff with this. So, it used to be we had a bunch of stuff in here, but because of our optimizations, that stuff's not handled here anymore, so you don't even have to worry about that. The only time you would have to worry about, I believe I deleted the guys that were an example of this, but you could assign, and I go over this in my gear video, but you know what? I go over to my gear video. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
You can do like really unique gear. If you wanted this specific AR to have something different than everybody else, you could add a line here to do that, and I go over that kind of stuff in that other video. So, but I'm not going to go over that now. Okay, so but for me, for a regular TVT, I don't want any vehicles, so I would just delete all this stuff. Same thing, like if you don't want people to, this is the thing with mission makers. If it's there, people are going to try to use it and abuse it, essentially. If you don't want them to have the UAV, fucking delete it. If you don't want a sniper team, delete them. If you don't want engineers, delete them. You don't want a SAM team, get rid of them. That kind of stuff. If you don't want mortars, get rid of them. Otherwise, people are going to be like, "Oh, let's bring that," and you never really consider that. All right, so let's finish getting rid of some stuff here. Ultimately, this doesn't matter because I'm just doing this as an example, but. So let's just say my mission's real simple. Blue 4 is going to defend this town, and I've got Blue 4 over here. Guess what? We're basically done. That's a mission. For TVTs, that's as simple as it is. Unless you want to if you want to throw in some, customized buildings or things of that nature, yeah, you can get real detailed in this. But all I'm going to do to finish this out is add some markers. Let's see. We'll do grid. We'll do red. The AO. Okay, that's not what I wanted. But you could map like you just want Op4 to attack this direction or something like that, and then you could do like an arrow.
Okay.
Yeah. I have a question about those like buildings you were talking about. I've heard that those can be really bad as far as server performance goes. Is that something that you want to use really sparingly to spare server performance, or like how
it's only bad. It's only bad if you script them in.
Okay.
If you use, say, MSCC, it's not in our mod set anymore, but you can go download MCC, and you could load up just and for that, you would not use this. You would go into the regular editor that I mentioned before,
and then import into the multiplayer.
Put a playable unit down. Go in game. Use our admin thing to give yourself Zeus.
I accidentally stumbled across MCC when I was messing around with the Halo mod.
Mm-hmm. Give yourself Zeus. Place your buildings. Shit. Sorry, my phone fell. Then in MCC you can export to SQM, and like you said, you would save it. You would save as probably and save it to. You could export it to multiple or whatever, and then and then you would open up, say, this mission, click merge, and find your mission that your presets. Say you would name your whatever buildings or something, and then you just hit OK, and it would merge all of those buildings in. That way, and then you save this file, and it just incorporates them into the SQM file. So the problem with scripting is buildings, especially, is say someone joins late or somebody crashes or someone loads a little bit slower than somebody else. If it's scripted, all that's handled when they load into the map. Whereas if you do it through the SQM, everybody has that. When they connect to the server, that's already loaded. Well, it's not already loaded, but when they download the mission, it's there. When they join in, those objects are already placed in the mission. It doesn't have to spawn them for that client or anything like that. It's already there. So it's your mission. All that is script or spawned through scripts, I think. And
that's why okay.
But once you fix the locality, it's not as bad, I guess. But it would be safer to pre-build that and incorporate it in the mission SQM. Okay, so yeah, this mission is. This is as simple as it gets, obviously. If you wanted to do different goals, like put a vehicle in there for them to defend, you could mess with all that. But after you've kind of figured this out, you just go into your briefing and fill out the brief for NATO, tell them that they're defending. Go in your briefing for CSET, tell them that they're attacking. Oh, I'm sorry, you're not done yet. Most important thing, weather. and this. By the way, if your editor looks different than mine, it's because I use the old style because I hate change sometimes. Anyway, so description. This is what we see when we're in the lobby. So Alt 4 attacking 2 to 1. Just put that there so we know what the slot. If you're not there, well, just put it there so we know what the slot. Period. And this name is what shows up in the briefing screen when I'm picking missions. So you want to retype whatever you name this mission, but add version 1 at the end. So what happens is your folder will always be named this, but you can change the version just in here.
Okay.
And when you export, you can add the V2 or whatever. It's better if you fill this out, I think. I've run into more issues if this is not filled out.
Yeah, I remember just last week we were kind of slowed down for a couple minutes when we were sorting stuff out with it.
You make. Even if you make a little change, especially if you've already uploaded to the server is going to tell you can't upload it because it already exists. So you have to put a V2. Well, this is what shows up to me first of all, and if I have, and what happens is if you left this the same, and you uploaded a V2 and you named it here but didn't name it there, I would see and say you did 4 different versions, I would see 4 V1s and I wouldn't know which one is the right one, and then I wouldn't play your mission. So this stuff, make sure you fill this out. You can mess with the weather. This controls who the independents are friendly to. By default, nobody. But if for example, Soviet's mission where we did independents were a squad. For that, he put friendly blue 4. Since it was blue 4 and independent teaming up. So definitely make sure you go in this advanced intel and fill that stuff out. I think I still have the Anchor 2 plugin turned on, so I don't want to go in game. But anyway, yeah, does that seem easy enough?
Yeah, I think
so. Yeah. So when you place when you're dragging the things on the map, when you're putting the units on the map, do you have to be really careful? Like, can they intersect things, or is that something you got to look out for?
Arma will place them smart. It'll move them to a place it can spawn. But
you do have to be careful. Like, the reason I didn't put them right here is because first of all, they're really spaced out. But there are chances for them to spawn inside a wall or a building. So if you can help it, put them out here in some open ground and they can move into the town. It's safe start.
Okay.
And see here, there's going to be trees and bushes in here. It'll place them around them the best it can.
Okay.
Sometimes that screws up, but
so avoid built-up areas, but the occasional tree or something like that's not going to be a problem.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess to explain that further, they're all going to be placed based on the leader because of this right here. They spawn in formation, which by default is a wedge. If you wanted to exactly control where people spawned, you would have to change this to none for every single one of these guys. I'll just do it for this fire team real quick, just to demonstrate. So I changed them to none. And so now they're going to spawn exactly where I put them. So if I put him behind him, I put him over here, and I put him over spots. Whereas the rest of these guys are all going to spawn in a wedge out from their group leader.
Okay.
So let's go and what was that again? B1. And
if you go in game, we'll lose audio, but we can still watch it.
Yeah, you'll still be able to hear me, but who was it? Bravo?
Echo.
B1, I think.
Yeah, well, Bravo 1 was who I... Well, actually, you know what? They're going to move to the group leader. Oh, no. Fuck. They gotta have AI. That's what it is. Okay. I should have spawned more. So briefing's all empty because I haven't filled it out. But it's I don't know if you saw it, but say they started in a different area, then the AI are just gonna move so back into formation, but they spawned over there. Otherwise, they would have started like that. If that makes sense.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions on that stuff?
As far as the basics go, I don't have any.
No. I'm kind of keen to jump in and give some trying.
Okay, actually, so the next step from here is, I have that checklist. I don't know how updated it is on the forums. I haven't looked at it in a while. But, you want to make sure it's got this stuff done. You want to make sure your briefing's filled out. You want to make sure your description's filled out. You want to make sure you changed gear if you changed it. And if you changed it, you want to make sure that gear works. Otherwise, if you're just using this, there's no reason for you to really test gear because it's been tested by us in our sessions and we fix things as we find them. Now, I don't see people do this differently than me, and I honestly don't. I can try it. How do y'all export this? When y'all are ready to, do y'all go to export to multiplayer?
I haven't set one up to be usable by other people yet, so I can't really speak to this.
Yeah, same.
See what that did.
You tell us how you like to do it, and we'll do it that way.
Well, I do it. Okay, see, that exported it here. And this is the problem. See how I exported that? Doesn't have any of the other stuff in it.
Yeah, none of like our mods and stuff.
Yeah, so that is the thing to avoid. See, the way I do it, I have a thing installed where I can just right-click the folder and hit create PBO.
Is that the PBO? No, there was a
C PBO.
Yeah, okay.
And then I just copy this to the ARMA. I actually connect to the server itself because I have access to that, but everybody else goes to file browser on their ARMA 3 server to permissions in like that, and you're done.
So that CPBO is something you have to download? Is that separate?
Yeah. If you updated this, if I updated this, say I made a change to it, and I changed it to version 2, I would just overwrite it, and then since I already have tutorial 1 on the server, I would just rename this to V2 and then paste it over. Go ahead.
When you exported it to multiplayer mission, it looked like it kept it in a folder format. Would you just be able to move over the other things?
I don't know. Huh?
Would you just be able to like move over the other files that it didn't include into that folder?
You could, but you already have the folder, so that doesn't make any sense. When you're trying to, like, I don't know what people do here. Like, I do it that way. Do this, and I'm kind of curious. You want the game to send it to a PBO, and I don't know how to do that. I think Austin knows how to do it.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So that's why I do it the way I do it, because I always got confused. Like, why isn't this exporting my shit properly? Okay. So let me. If y'all need to grab a drink or take a break real quick, I'll get Awesome in here, and then we'll do co-op stuff.